Some decisions are not made with a smile. They are forced upon us by time. When the walls of a house fall silent and the medicine bottle stays empty, a man breaks. Circumstances pushed me to a point where bread was more expensive than faith. Then they came, the cartel. They didn't give me money. They gave my daughter her breath. The first time I took a bribe, the blue of my uniform felt a shade darker. The money arrived, and my daughter's smile returned, but the man in the mirror was now refusing to recognize me. Then, one night, a call came, a call that changed everything. The cartel's order: keep the road clear for tonight's raid. My own brothers, my colleagues, were driving into the death trap I had laid. The sound of gunfire echoed in the dark. Every bullet hit my conscience. I stood outside like a coward. I watched my duty being murdered. My oldest friend, Marcus, he was lying there. He called out for help. My hands were trembling. I turned my eyes away. They escaped. The job was done. The cartel was happy. When the silence returned, only the stillness of death remained. I picked him up. He asked, "Where were you?" I had no answer. The blood washed away, but the stain on my uniform was permanent. That money now felt like poison. Every note bore the mark of a life lost. And then the day came when I had to carry the coffin of the man I allowed to die. That night, I didn't just lose a friend, I buried my humanity. But enough. The game ends now. This war is now mine. I began opening the cartel's files in secret. Every page was a tale of their sins, their hideouts, their men, their roots. Everything was in my crosshairs. I had to turn my weakness into strength. This time, I won't be a coward. The ones who once paid me were now going to face my lead. Understanding the enemy was vital. Every move they made was under my watch. I looked for people within the department, those who still had integrity. We met in silence. Our eyes spoke more than words. Trust was building. My uniform was still blue, but my heart was now thirsty for justice. The first target, the man who pulled the trigger on Marcus. One shot, and the burden of one sin lightened, but my heart found no peace. The next morning, at their lab, it was dark, but my resolve was bright. There was to be no sound. The work had to be silent. I burned it all down. I turned their power into ashes. I was now an enemy of the cartel and a criminal to the police. To pay the debt of the uniform, I had to leave it behind. The word spread. The cartel was furious, and my name echoed in the city. My daughter was sleeping. To keep her safe, I had to stay away. "Hello, Mr. Rossi. Remember the cop you thought you bought?" Rossi, the man I once took money from. Now he was my prey. Reaching him wasn't easy. He was surrounded by his wolves. I had to wear a mask. To get inside, I had to look like one of them. I needed to hear every word. I needed to know their secrets. One mistake, and it's all over. Every step had to be calculated. Finally, the news I needed. Their biggest shipment. That would be their end. I asked for help one last time. To do right, I had to use the wrong way. On my tip, the police were arriving. This time, not for me, but for my cause. Finally, we were face to face, the hardest moment of my life. He pulled out a photo of my daughter. My breath stopped. My daughter, the reason I started this, and now my greatest weakness. I dropped my weapon. For my daughter, I could do anything. He celebrated his victory. I was captured. I had lost. But he didn't know. This wasn't a defeat. It was my final move. The police stormed in. Gunfire erupted everywhere.
In the chaos, I rose again. I had to save both my daughter and my soul. I saved him from a police bullet that was meant for me. The final struggle, him or me, only one could survive. A shot rang out. I fell. It was finally over. He was caught. My mission was complete, even if I wasn't there to see it. In my hand was the mark of my duty. I lost my life, but I kept my word. Today there was another funeral. Today I was the one going into the earth. My daughter, she didn't know if her father was a hero or a criminal. The world learned of both my sin and my sacrifice. The uniform claimed me again. I wasn't a martyr, but I was remembered. Years passed. My daughter grew up. She wore the same blue I once wore. My unfinished war was now hers. She saluted me. She had forgiven me. My sacrifice meant that no other father had to sell his soul. After the dark, light always comes. The burden of sin was gone. I didn't know what would happen after me, but I had faith. She had learned from my story. A new era was beginning, an era where integrity is not for sale. It's hard to pay the debt of the uniform, but it makes you a better man. Every sin is accounted for, and every sacrifice is rewarded. In the silence of the night, there was no fear, only peace. My story perhaps had come to an end, but my soul was finally at peace. I was free. I may never have been a hero, but I fought my war, and in this war, by losing my life, I finally won back my conscience.